Finally, after all that waiting, Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 1 is upon us. Before we get to the episode, the theories, the spoilers, all that stuff, we have got to talk about that scene. Woo! The worst scene in Game of Thrones history. The dialogue, the cringe, the pervert dragon. Oh, so bad. Now, I don't want to be that guy. I've never written a TV show except for that time I did write a 55-page, 1-hour spec script for the Netflix show Lucifer, which you can read down below. But the dialogue in this scene, everything was off. Everything was off. First, the whole episode is absolute breakneck pace busy. There is two characters, boom. Two characters, boom. Two characters, boom. Conversation, boom. Loose ends, boom. We are moving rapid fire through the whole episode. I mean, Theon Greyjoy's arc basically finished in 4 minutes. It took a season for his sister to get captured by Euron Margera himself, taken away, Theon to find his, for lack of a better term, balls again, and then for it to all flip on its head 5 minutes into the episode. So we were moving pretty quick. So right in the middle of that, to have a 10-minute magic carpet ride / How to Train Your Dragon / 10 Things I Hate About You moment was a little weird. So whatever. We basically went on a tour de France with dragons. All cool. So we park at a waterfall. All right, I'm with you. And then we get some of the absolute worst dialogue I've heard in a long, long time. It's pretty cold up here for a southern girl. Ooh. Then keep your queen warm. Ooh. Really, really unexpected stuff from Game of Thrones. It just kind of fit perfectly with this episode for it to be just kind of all over the place, making things happen way too quick. And when you do that, when you have to force dialogue and force kind of the end of scenes, you come up with some lines like that. But it wasn't the best part of the scene. No. Have you ever seen Jurassic Park 3? There's a scene in Jurassic Park 3 where they're just kind of walking through the island and they hear a cell phone. And the two families believe that the cell phone is to each other. So they run. They meet each other. And they still hear the cell phone. And both families are like, is that your cell phone? Is that yours? They're like, no. And then in the distance, they all turn and they see the dinosaur, the main villain in the movie. They see the dinosaur just staring at them. Just kind of like staring, like kind of doing really weird stuff. Because, it's like, well, it's a dinosaur. Why is it staring at him? And just breaking that wall and having the audience stare at this dinosaur, really weird. Really weird. I've always thought about that since the movie. And that's exactly what this dragon scene in Game of Thrones reminded me of this stupid dinosaur. This was the most human-looking dragon I've ever seen in my entire life. And the dragon, this is what they want me to believe. So the whole scene is obviously to make it look like Jon is being accepted by the dragons. And Jon can ride the dragons. And the dragons are cool with Jon because he's Targaryen. Okay, I got it. I don't need the peeping Tom dragon to be literally looking through the window as Jon and Dany do the unspeakable. I caught on to the whole, man, Jon's pretty cool with these dragons during the 10-minute carpet ride. I don't need this dragon to be basically filming Dany and Jon. No one asked for that. No one asked for some dragon voyeurism. Past that scene, though, if you could get past that scene, the episode was a bit busy and a bit underwhelming. I'm not going to say it was awful, because it wasn't, but it was very, very set-up-ish. New word alert. Very set-up-ish. It took every storyline possible and basically recapped them for you, which was nice of them, and then set them up for you. So no, we didn't get a breakneck kind of start to the season with wars and battles and deaths and surprises and any of that stuff. We got some really, really nice moments though, and we got some filler, mostly filler. So let's try and talk about what this episode is setting up. let's start with Dany. So I think it's pretty obvious with the whole Jon-Sam conversation, which, by the way, was absolutely fantastic by Samwell. Samwell has kind of turned into this Neville Longbottom kind of character where at the beginning he was kind of a ne'er-do-well, couldn't really get his stuff together, just kind of a pathetic character who offered some comic relief. And now he's turned into a character where, like Neville and Harry Potter, by the end of the movies and books, the question was, is Neville actually the chosen one? Sam is on kind of the same arc where Sam obviously is much more important than we all believed him to be. So Sam did a fantastic job in this scene. Jon did a great job as well. The whole thing played out really well. The backdrop of Jon's parents or Jon's mother when he was hearing the news, beautiful stuff. So this poses the question. Jon and Dany are now rivals, even if they don't want to be. Because Dany has the power, Jon doesn't want the power, but it's Jon's power to be had. And, just in case he wavered at all, he has literally the entire North begging him to take the crown back. So, Jon has already sacrificed his power. He's already shown that he's willing to relinquish the crown for his people. Will Dany do the same? Now, what this is setting up, in my opinion, is Dany to be confronted with the idea of maybe becoming the Mad Queen. I think we'll see both of Dany. I think we'll see Dany fight back and fight to relinquish her power. I think she'll want to keep it. And then I think she'll be confronted with the idea or the confirmation that she really is just in this for the power. That moment right there will determine what her character does for the rest of the show. Dany will come to a crossroad where she'll decide, do I want to do anything in my power to keep my crown, aka the route of the Mad Queen, or will she say, no, I will not let my last name define me. I will not make the same mistakes. I will not be hungry for power. I will not go mad. I will make the sacrifice for the greater good. And then she'll go down the other route of Khaleesi, the fan favorite Dany, and she'll probably ride that out until the end, unless the sacrifice means her life. So this obviously sets up Jon to be on a one-way path to the throne. He is the rightful heir. He is also probably the most powerful person on the, we'll just call him the good guy's side. He is the guy. He is the person the whole North wants to back. He is the man who came back from the dead. He is the one who's fought the White Walkers twice. He is the guy. So this confirmation to him that he deserves the throne, or he technically has the throne, he just has to go get it. Now let's flip over to King's Landing with my favorite little Margera, Euron Margera, the emo skater that he is, and Cersei. Cersei's plan with Jaime back in season 7 didn't go well. And it's obvious that Cersei's plan now with the elephants, or I guess a lack thereof elephants, isn't going well either. In comes Viva la Euron. In typical Euron fashion, all he cares about is sex. Cersei understands that, begrudgingly, if she can sleep with Euron, or when she sleeps with Euron, not really an if, I think Euron will sleep with anyone. When she sleeps with Euron, she can trick him into believing that she's pregnant with his son, keeping his army with her. So she's pregnant with Jaime's kid, who I believe she'll trick Euron into thinking is his kid. But the kid is also her little brother, whom everyone knows she will be killed by her little brother. At this point, everyone's taking the little brother to be Tyrion, both literally and figuratively. But I think something a little bit more poetic is at foot here. Think about it. What if Cersei had a kid who killed her in childbirth because of a difficult birthing process? So it would be her kid, but it also would be her little brother. Now, what if that kid, because of some incest, what if that same child is a dwarf or an imp? Talk about poetic. Cersei killed by her little brother and her child, the thing that she cares about more than anything, her own offspring. And that child will grow up with her name and her genes to look like Tyrion, one of the people she hates the most. With this episode being such a setup episode, it's pretty obvious that they're going to use the first 2 episodes to set up for the battle at Winterfell. So before the season, I thought, well, maybe they'll come out hot. Maybe they'll come out hot, really give us some action really fast. They went the opposite route. They said, you know what? We don't have a lot of time to work with. Let's utilize these first couple episodes, really tell the story, really build up the storylines, and kind of peak at the mid-season finale of the Battle of Winterfell. So I wouldn't expect any big deaths. I wouldn't expect any big happenings until that battle. Another character that really had his fingerprint on this episode was Bran. I said fingerprint, not footprint, and that's for obvious reasons. Bran seems to know everything, and we believe him to know everything, which makes him such an interesting character, because while we want to know everything, we think he does know everything. But he has a weird way of showing it. My favorite line, or my favorite kind of setup of the entire episode, is when Sam walked out after hearing about Dany killing his whole family, and he sees Bran. Bran says, "I'm waiting for an old friend," when Sam asked him what he's doing out there. And I took it to mean Sam. I think everyone I was watching it with, I thought took it to mean like just a throwaway thing, like, "Oh, I'm waiting to see you," because Sam and Bran are friends. And then for that to go into the end of the episode where it's Jaime, and it's such an interesting thing, or it was such an interesting line for Bran to be in that position waiting for Jaime. I love Jaime as a character. I love the arc. He's very reminiscent of characters like Vegeta, if you've watched or read any Dragon Ball Z anime or the manga. I love the characters who kind of swing twice, hero, villain, hero, and then maybe villain again. And that's what Jaime, I think, is doing. I think Jaime could be the biggest hero in the show, or he could just kind of die a villain. Real quick, I want to go ahead and throw this out there. If I was writing the show, I would end the season making it look like the entire show was just in Bran's head from when he was pushed off of the ledge by Jaime. I'd set it up with, it ends with Bran kind of waking up. He's on the ground. People are running towards him. It's obvious that he had just fallen off the tower or been pushed off the tower. So then we believe, oh my God, this whole show has just been in Bran's head. Oh my God, it was just him seeing the future. But then he wakes up in the current timeline, and him waking up from being pushed was just a dream. It's called a double swerve. Maybe look it up. All in all, the episode served its purpose. It was a bit wonky, a bit heavy at spots. Had the worst scene in Game of Thrones history, but it also delivered a lot of purpose. The episode touched on virtually every single storyline that we could possibly be wondering about. It's set up for a good episode 2, which will then set up for an outrageous Battle of Winterfell. So, no, it wasn't the best Game of Thrones episode, but it did its damn job. MVP of the episode for me probably goes to Sam. Sam, I thought, was great. Every time he was on the screen, it was probably the most important part of the show, and he delivered everything perfectly as an actor. So, well done, Sam. Bran comes in second. I think Bran is a super interesting character because he knows so much, but can do so very little. And that scene with Jaime was my favorite scene of the episode by far. So Bran gets second place for me. We're going to be doing these recap episodes every single week throughout the last season. So I hope you tune in. If you've enjoyed this, please smash the subscribe button, smash the like button, push every button there is, ring every bell there is. We'll see you next week after episode 2.